What's good? Kelvin here. Today I want to share with you the big bet that we're making in 2026. And stick around for the end because I'll be sharing with you the actual content roadmap that we use for our clients in the B2B space and has helped them triple their reach organically. But first, wasn't 2025 quite the crazy ride? We saw an almost quantum leap in AI performance, the acceleration of AI slop, the almost cracks in the search engine optimization game, and the coming along of new ad platforms such as ChatGPT and Netflix. But nonetheless, here we are still moving our marketing machines along. So in 2026, would you agree with me that it's only going to get crazier? Well, if it's your first time here, I'm Kelvin from Chowder Media, and we are a marketing agency based in Singapore that has worked with some of the biggest brands in the world. But before we get to the big bet that we are making, I want you to catch up with me to the new language that we speak here on the internet. Because before the internet was even invented, how did businesses get customers? Well, in the 1900s, B2B businesses primarily got their business through word of mouth and meeting up at conventions or a handshake. There was no algorithm-based driven advertising. Quality was so important. To advertise meant you needed so much capital because the channels were so limited. You had maybe your local newspaper or radio, and if you were really truly balling out, you had your national television. But in the 1950s came along David Ogilvy, and his copywriting skills alone could transform a business. Just take a look at what he wrote for Rolls-Royce in 1958. One headline: at 60 miles an hour, the loudest noise in the new Rolls-Royce comes from the electric clock. Just words on a page. But that single script increased Rolls-Royce sales by 50% the next year. This is ultimately the leverage of language and of media. But now with the internet and the insanity that is AI, it has brought about so much noise because you and your competitor can create as much content as you want. And in B2B marketing, this noise disrupts the customer's journey heavily. Ever had a customer get in your pipeline but magically silently disappear away into silence? That's not a function of a bad sales team or your bad marketing materials. Oftentimes, you must understand from your customer's perspective, they are inundated with so much option, so much choice, that for them making a decision leads to analysis paralysis. And oftentimes, very little decisions are made. Let's take a look at what a typical customer buying journey in B2B looked like. Pre-AI, right? Let's say 3 years ago, a customer would most probably discover your company, product, and solution through your blog content. Search engine optimization, SEO, was king. Then perhaps the customer would sign up for monthly newsletters, watch YouTube content before finally deciding to buy. But things have changed. And in 2026, things are going to change even further. We have to speak the language of the internet, and that language is video. The traditional buyer journey that starts with blog content is eroding. Why? Because the large language models like ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude, they now provide you personalized recommendations that you trust. In fact, Gartner predicts that in 2026, traditional search volume is going to drop by 25%. A huge number. What this means is that the paradigm that existed for the past decade is slowly shifting. Remember how every blog post used to start with perhaps top 10 digital marketing agencies in Singapore, and the author, it's most probably from the same company that wrote the blog post, right? That kind of listicle content, just to game the algorithms, eroded trust. Now you get personalized recommendations by asking AI. That is more trustworthy, and people trust that way more than what you get from the traditional Google search. You see, trust is built on retention and impressions. The more you see me and the more you value the information that I bring to you, the more likely it is for you to trust me. This is where video comes in. With YouTube, TikTok, Instagram Reels dominating our human attention, video is the perfect delivery vehicle for trust because it fulfills the two criteria of impressions and retention. Thus, producing video content is non-negotiable because that's where our customers live. But if you think creating video content the old way was difficult, AI is even scarier. The enemy here is AI. Not in the sense where it's coming for a job or here to replace all original thought, but rather it's the competition you have here is now AI. If you are a B2B marketer or sell B2B solution, you have to ask yourself this question: is my content unique? Your competition for standing out and winning attention is creating content that beats AI. Let me give you an example. Imagine you are a B2B technology company selling payment solutions to small, medium businesses. Your content is currently revolved around how to use your product. Explainer videos perhaps. But you see, the problem here is that your customers, if they ever run into trouble with using your product now, all they have to do is to go into any AI chatbot like ChatGPT or Gemini. The chatbots would read your spec sheet, your product user guide, and they will answer your customers' queries directly. So is content like this absolutely necessary anymore? I don't think so. Rather, let's look at what kind of content should be produced knowing that AI is here. You see, your customers are not looking for information that's already available online. So your content needs to evolve. This could mean giving information, data points, customer stories that were not published anywhere in your product guide or user guide that will be extremely relevant to your customers' questions. Being as narrow and focused as possible while still maintaining an engaging story arc is how we deliver retention and impressions to our customers. Take a look at Airwallex, the unicorn that has emerged from the scene rather quickly from the past few years. While banks were still selling their compliance and safety, Airwallex was selling speed. You could open an account and transact in any currency in just minutes. For any business owner, that was valuable. Nobody wanted to be stuck on a phone call with a bank officer anymore. Just this slight shift in positioning in your content can then make your content unique and stand out on its own. So how do we actually achieve that? Well, it's all about these two words: relevancy and personalization. These two factors are the difference maker. So please do not let AI write your entire script. It is good for idea generation and finding and citing sources. But if you let it control your script, then you're going to sound like everybody else. Inject humor, personal anecdotes, and data points that really truly matter to your customers. This is how you build a loyal customer base. Remember those really polished, generic corporate videos that were popular in the past? Well, if you try to make that today with the same budget, it's almost like flushing money down the drain. It speaks to no one. If you can create good content over a long enough time frame, then you would find yourself and the company among the greats. Because then you would have created not just customers, but loyal customers. And in B2B, the word we speak most of is trust. Ultimately, when customers trust us, sales becomes easier, and as marketers, we achieve our goal to grease and smoothen the sales cycle, especially in B2B. Let me frame it to you this way. It is in your advantage that your competitor uses AI to fully write his scripts and control his creative ideation. Creativity and storytelling in content is our moat. And if your competitor is letting it slip away, creating content that does not attract loyal customers, then the field is yours. The one big bet that we are making at Chowder Media is to create video content over everything else. If I could rank it, video content is king. Attending in-person events is queen. Newsletters, prints, and AEO or GEO content will become that sort of bastard prince to be. And over the next 6 months, we'll find out where that lands. Simply put, video content is our North Star for growth this year because we are putting it on top of everything else and competing with AI to create the best content possible. It is time-consuming and frankly expensive. You have to ideate, script, storyboard, record, edit, format, caption, get it ready for the right platforms, cut landscapes, cut verticals, right? There's so much involved in creating video content that takes up a significant portion of time. Especially in corporate companies, you might have an in-house videographer, but he does not script. Perhaps your strategist or your marketing team scripts, but then that goes upwards like an onion through 3, 4, 5 layers. And by the time you get an approved script, get your video team ready, you might only end up producing 1 or 2 pieces of content a month. And in this current media landscape, that's simply insufficient. I've put together this content roadmap that we use internally for our clients, and I'm sharing it here with you today. You see, we found that companies who produce 1 video a month on average find it really almost impossible to ramp it up to more than 5 videos a month. Why? Because oftentimes there are just too many stakeholders at play that's stopping the production of content. Let's just start with the most popular one. 2 to 5 videos a month. Great. You've managed to work through your processes that's allowed you to produce a commendable amount of content a month. Right? Internally, your marketing teams are aligned that content is necessary for the growth of your company. But now you're wondering whether to push for more content or create higher quality content. This question comes up to us very often. The decision lies with retention as the core metric. It's the right audience spending time with our content. If you find that your retention curve looks like this instead of this, then you ought to improve your content quality. This means to work on the ideas that you present and the uniqueness of the information you provide. We're not talking about the quality of your camera, rather, it's your actual content that matters here. If on the other hand, you've got a loyal group of watchers, it's time to amp up the volume of content produced and expand and reach new audiences with your content. In general, we are aiming for 50% retention rate. That's tough. Our data shows that for most B2B educational content, anywhere between a 20 to 30% retention rate is average. If we can get to 50%, that's a goal. But also remember this, as you land and expand, you will start seeing your retention rate dip 5 to 10% as you reach new audiences who might not really find your content interesting. But remember, we're not casting a wide net, but catching the right fish. So it's imperative that you get your media machine and locomotive moving along now, because it takes time to produce results. It takes time for media to compound. Because while you sleep, just like investments, remember, media is the leverage that can be replicated over and over again, that provides results for B2B companies in 2026. Thank you for watching, and if this video was valuable to you, please like and subscribe.